A lot of you have seen these. You've probably used them. They're not very pleasant, I'll tell you that much. A little challenging for those of you that have not used this. This is called a neti pot, and there's a lot on the market that do similar things that this does. And I use this very faithfully for about 2 to 3 years, I would say. 2 to 3 years. Do I dislike it? Not at all. It's a good tool. It's a good invention. It's a good way to flush those nasal passages out. But there's a little bit about this I want to talk to you about. And there's nothing really bad. I love this company, NeoMed, by the way. So this isn't one of those videos. But what I'm going to tell you about this and how this pertains to ETD. A lot of you are watching this video because you have ETD. You've been diagnosed with it. You see it on your diagnoses and you're wondering what the heck is that? And how do I get rid of it? And will I get rid of it with this? You've probably read on Google, if you Googled the condition and it said flush your nasal passages out with saline or something of that sort. That's all fine and dandy and great. And it's good for your nasal passages to get a good bath sometimes. Actually, I still use this device during allergy season especially, or when it's winter, just to get my nasal passages, to get some of that stuff out of there. Because it just simply doesn't get the bath it needs, our nasal passages. Let's just be honest. Like any part of our body, you need to clean it and flush it out sometimes. But let me talk to you about this thing. If you are dealing with ETD on a high level, and when I mean high level, that it has breached the mental zone. What I mean by mental zone is that it has reached a point of where you feel helpless. You feel like you'll never get rid of this thing. If you've reached that point in your quest to get rid of this alone is not going to do it. Reason being is a lot of emphasis is being put on the ear itself and the nasal passage itself. But the real big problem maker, the destructor, the problem child, I would say in this sense, is where your mind is. And when you have ETD, a lot of your mind is all over the place. When you have anxiety, when you have release of chemicals, you have too much histamine, you have all these chemicals taking over your body, cortisol specifically, and you just can't seem to get out of this spiral effect of what Eustachian tube dysfunction does to you. You have to take yourself out of the physical nature of things. So what I mean by that is we're so accustomed to think, and it's not our fault because we're being told that by professionals. When you have this condition per se, you think you need to go in with a Q-tip, or you need to go in there and get something out, or you need to take some so to just immediately trigger this thing. With ETD, we're not understanding, or we're not having really been told yet to understand, is that it's more of a mental game than it is anything else. If you can get rid of the anxiety, you can get rid of the depression, you can get rid of and I say that with sensitivity and not with a grain of salt by no means. If you can lower the anxiety, especially, let's start there. You can lower the anxiety. You're going to find that the rest follow suit. I'll say that again. Lower the anxiety, lower the stress release and the stress hormones, bring them down. You do that, you'll realize all the other things you feel, the popping, the clicking, the spatial and floating and space filling, all that will follow suit. By just simply getting rid of the anxiety, being aware that the anxiety is the forerunner of this condition, you'll start to get rid of the rest of the stuff. When you leave the doctor's office, you feel so much more scattered than you did when you went in, because you didn't even know what to feel stressed about before you went in. So you went in maybe not feeling great, but you went in with at least the idea of, okay, I'm going to find out what this is. But when you come out of that doctor's office, you feel like, oh, great, there's a bunch of pieces that I need to start putting back together. And I have seen, from my own perspective, not official studies, but what I have seen is when you leave those offices, you come out with scatterbrain effect. And when you have the scatterbrain effect, you start to panic more because it's too much to deal with. It's too overwhelming. Then if you had everything in a box and you just have to go through that box and deal with it first. If you can just focus on where your mind is, feed your mind good stuff. Meditation is something that's hard for people to wrap their mind around because it takes a lot of work to understand. It's like a different language and it's a different world. And when you finally let go of the senses in the body, and you just get with yourself and get with the mind, and you just talk to your mind, and you don't look at anything else. Don't look at your cell phone. Don't look at your TV. Don't look at anything. And you just lay there. You'll find that you'll tap into a certain realm, and you'll access the part of the brain that's willing to start creating this world that you want, which is healing. And when you do that and you do it repetitiously, you'll start to actually see the benefits. It took me a while to understand that, but I was like, how can I have a meeting with the mind without everything else? It doesn't make sense. But when you think about it, you have to drop what you're doing. You have to lay there and you have to let go of everything and just close your eyes and get into the perspective of the mind. You tap into the mind's hard drive, or you tap into the main core, and you can actually start to develop some healing from that perspective. And the problem is with ETD is this isn't talked about because it sounds too, fictional, fictitious. It sounds too, people have their opinions, but people don't understand how much we actually contain without actually going to go get anything. And when you realize that, you'll find the healing starts to happen when you realize you don't need to actually go and get anything. You have it already. You just don't know how to put it together. When I was dealing with this myself, it took me a while to realize that I had the tools already within me. You don't have to scatterbrain yourself around. You don't have to run flustered all over the room trying to find the right medication, the right dosage, the right stretching habit, the right all of this stuff. It's not to discount those things, but it's not always necessary. What you have to do is you have to get in touch with the mind first. Remember the box, the yet to be sorted but somewhat containable box, and not the scattered out of nowhere. How do I get through this day of stuff scattered in my house? Start with the box of things. Start with the mind and work yourself out of that. When I started to get real good at not letting every little symptom control my every little being, and I started to really get good at not letting every little problem, every little setback that I felt get into my core of thinking, I realized the clicking started to go away, the popping started to go away. I didn't have to go and do any surgery, any balloon dilation or anything like that. I realized that if I was already doing pretty good before this whole thing went awry, then it's probably something that I have already in my repertoire to try to access, that to try to get better from there first. Get better from here first, and then you'll see that the layers will start to unfold. Then the rest will just be a cakewalk, because then you go into the room and there's only like 2-3 pieces on the ground. Oh, okay. 2 or 3 toys scattered on. You can tell I'm a parent talking. 2 or 3 toys versus 100 toys on the ground. I can deal with that. Do that with your thoughts. Do that with your symptoms. Do that with your body. Give yourself a chance to heal from with the mind outward, and believe it. Actually try to do it. Don't just think it's phony talk or a way to sell a course or a way to, get views. It's actually a real thing. Just trust me. If anybody, of all people you watch on YouTube that are trying to do this or say to do that, give everybody a chance, yes, but think about this. You don't need anything. You don't even need my book. Don't need it. It's helpful, but you don't need it. I needed it. I needed to do it more than you probably needed to read it. I needed to write it down more than you probably needed to read it. So start from the inside out. Start with your brain first and go from the outside. Then if you need some assistance on things to try, absolutely. But you don't really need anything sometimes. You just need to tap into your mind, go from there, let it take control, believe, and see yourself on the other side of how you would feel if this condition didn't belong to you right now. See how you would look and feel and act if you didn't have it, and think about how you feel once you get rid of it and actually speak into existence. So I hope this video was very helpful for you. If it was, please take time to subscribe to the channel. I try to bring content as often as possible, but in the meantime, I'm going to step out of the Jaye Wellness Studio and leave you in good hands with this video. Like anything else, folks, we're here to simply go back to the basics. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.